All right, what's up, everyone? We're back with another edition of Unwrap This. It's National Championship panel. With me, we have 4 different special guests with me, and then we're gonna have one jumping in later with one of our other directors, and Jesse Clark, huge Ohio State fan. So maybe we'll just mute him for the whole show, maybe not. But before we go ahead and get started, I'm gonna throw it around to these guys who are joining me tonight. My name is obviously Caleb Skinner. You can follow me at CHS No. I'm one of the directors here at Unwrap Sports, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to my left here and throw it over to Michael Lawson.
As you can see, my name is Michael Lawson. Thanks so much, Caleb, for having me on here. I have a whole book of knowledge of college football. That's not very true, but just little plugs of what I do. I'm with the Unwrap Sports Network, as we were talking about here. I am an assistant director for the baseball department, and I actually do the co-hosting with the Backstop Banter. Come check us out every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. I know a lot of you guys are Central and Pacific time, so I'll just leave it at that. And I like to go ahead and give my call in on what I do before Amber does, because my list is a lot shorter than what all she does. So give me a follow on Twitter. It's MDLawson00, Instagram, TikTok, even that as well is all MDLawson00, even on Twitch as well. Go ahead, Amber.
And your list isn't long. See, I have one social media. That's it. All right, guys. I am Amber Vickers. I am the director of the NBA department for Unwrap Sports Network. I have a podcast, Step Back Sisterhood. I just got done recording. And then I also have a podcast with for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then I have another live show called Ladies First on Twitter. That's for Unwrap Sports Network. Count the Bucket with my co-host Andrew, who's a co-director of the NBA department. That's on Fridays. I can't even finish promoting myself.
I'm sorry, I'll put my hand down.
That's on Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. Ladies First is on Thursdays, and that is 7 p.m. Central. So that's all I have, and I just have my Twitter, simply me_AV, and that's the only social media that I have. Despite what Michael says, he has more plugins than I do.
It's tough to follow that, Amber. Amber's a superstar. I'm Isabel. I'm a contributor for Unwrapped. I'm just at Isabel Sarah Leggy on Twitter, Isabel_ Sarah Leggy on Instagram. I actually just graduated from Alabama back in May, so I'm definitely on this stream to talk some smack about Ohio State and get excited for the game tomorrow and talk to all these guys about what they think's going to happen, what Nick's secret plan might be, especially in Tua's home. So super hyped to talk to you guys, and thanks, Caleb, for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to start off with my condolences to Isabel for graduating from Alabama. And I am Garrett from Iowa. I host the People's XFL show on the Unwrapped Sports Network every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Other than that, I'm just like a bad penny. I keep turning up on random streams. So keep your eyes open. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett from Iowa and keep up on everything I'm doing.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and plug myself in as well. Obviously, CHS Noel, like I mentioned earlier, is my Twitter ad. Set my ad on pretty much anything. I'll let Michael talk about my TikTok later in the show for any of y'all that are, out there looking to find and follow somebody on TikTok. But other than that, I am on a bunch of other shows as a director for the Unwrap Sports Network. Starting a new show with one of the co-founders of Unwrap Sports, Perry Aston, called Keeping It Blunt. We're gonna, kind of just be chilling out. Talking a bunch of different things, whether it be sports, whether it be, anything that's just happening around the world and pop culture, anything like that on Wednesdays. Our first debut show is actually this Wednesday. So you guys tune into that at 8 p.m. Eastern, or I think 9 p.m. Eastern time, excuse me. I also do Unwrap These Bands, which is being, spread out across multiple other people. Helped start that with my friend Mark Belleville and Steve Lewis, who are also part of the network. Also do Saturday Standouts with my co-host Sam Daring, who is a big, NFL draft guy, and we'll be getting into all that stuff here after the national championship. So really look forward to that, especially with all the players that we're about to see in this game tomorrow night that are going to be, putting their names into the draft after that game. So really looking forward to that. And then, I can go on and on, just filling in different areas as well. So I'm excited to get this thing going. And, before we actually get started, I want to give a little shout out to Unwrap Sports new shop online, and that's through teespring.com. If you go to teespring.com/unwrap, you'll get a wide variety of all our merchandise and apparel, whether it just be, unwrapped memorabilia, stickers, clothing, merchandise. You got face mask and everything. You also got individual shows such as the Hard Count right there. my show, Saturday Standouts. If you guys know Monique, who is also one of the directors at Unwrapped, and she does fights, is there. Generational Z Sports with Anthony Conover. Fourth Man Pod, which has to do with what's the league called up there, Amber? I'm sure you're more aware of it.
It's the 3-on-3 league.
Yeah, the big three.
The big three, yeah.
Cool. And then you got Garrett's show there with Moose and the XFL. Ladies First, obviously, with Amber. And then, like Michael was talking about earlier, with Backstop Banner. All at teespring.com.
Man, that logo is nice. Can we see that bottom logo one more time? I mean,
I'll throw it down there. Back down.
Way to promote yourself, Michael. Good
Oh,
job.
hey,
man.
I get all three in one shot there. It's nice.
There you
again,
go.
guys,
Yeah.
that's teespring.com/stores/unwrapped, where you can find all of your unwrapped sports merchandise, like Michael's holding up his mug there that he just bought, sounds like. And then you can also head over to rxhemp.com, which is a all natural pain relief cream. It is CBD based, so it's good stuff. It's all natural, like I said before. If you have any, sore ligaments or sore, muscles out there, like I do on a daily basis from standing up at work all the time, you're an ex-athlete, go ahead and throw some of this on there. If you head there, purchase your stuff, you'll get 10% off every single time if you use code RXHemp-USN. So it's 10% off every single one of your purchases. It's great stuff. Hot and cold stuff, kind of like it's going to get warm, real hot for you, and then real cold for you. It's going to really loosen up those muscles. So that's great stuff there. And then we'll get into another one of our sponsors later, because we're going to have a little segment about, gambling later when Jesse comes on as well, because he wants to go over a little bit of props about tomorrow night's game. So we'll get into my bookie and everything later. And so with that, we'll just go ahead and jump into, a little bit of the conversation happening about something that happened in the past year. And that's the Heisman results here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the results, but anybody want to go ahead and give their initial thoughts on, Devante Smith winning the Heisman? And I think he's the first one in 22 years since Desmond Howard won it? I'm not exactly sure, but your initial thoughts on Devante Smith winning it.
I want to say since 1993 or something like that. I know me, Garrett, and Amber, we've talked quite a bit about Heisman in a few weeks past, and honestly, I don't think we really talked about him very much. We thought it'd be more of a quarterback as far as Trask or even Jones with that, and then out of nowhere, which I think they gave it to the right person. I think Smith definitely deserved it. So I was happy to see it, and I think it could possibly turn into something for the draft date, maybe even change it up a little bit, who maybe go for him instead of a quarterback, because Lawrence last game looked a little rough. I won't say that he's dropped too much, but I just think it could be a little different than what everybody thinks as far as the number one pick. But that's just me really reaching for something, try to look in a little deep. But I'm happy Smith got it and won it, the first one in a long time. And then I even see you got pulled up here the vote. So, I mean, he kind of won by a big landslide too. So kudos to him, the wide receiver. Gives hope for the running backs, wide receivers now.
Yeah, we definitely slept on him when the streams you were talking about earlier. But to be fair to us, the quarterbacks all had a really big drop off in between. I mean, Lawrence didn't look great at the end of the year. Trask looked horrible his last couple games. Fields really dropped out of it with that game against Northwestern. So it really opened up the field there. And as far as Mac Jones goes, it's real easy to put up awesome numbers as a quarterback. When your receiver catches the ball 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, it gives you 20 yards after catch every time he catches the ball. So I think they definitely made the right decision. He definitely deserved it, and I sure hope this gave him a bump in his draft stock because, he deserves it. Guy looked amazing.
I mean, I think you're right about that. Like, I think, Kyle really fell off real bad. Trevor, great overall career, but, he had a couple games that were not great, and then his last game really not awesome. Mac, again, it's not a Joe Burrow situation where it's like, wow, like his last season, really crushed it, led his team to a national championship. It's just not that kind of thing because it's Alabama versus LSU. LSU, Joe Burrow, led his team from nothing to that greatness. Mac was just able to get plugged in. And so because he was just plugged in like that, that's what got him ahead. And
this is why no one likes OSU.
Exactly. Devante Smith is just got those hands, and I think it also goes to show, judged on this year, but really career-wise, Devante Smith has had an amazing 4 years, and Mac played this year. He had, besides being third string a couple times, second string last year. It was Devante's to lose, I feel like, after Trevor had some rough games. So I feel like that was definitely the right decision, even though I'm biased. I just feel like usually I'd be up for quarterbacks, and I feel like this is a good decision.
Cal Trask boo-booed the bed against my Sooners, and I loved watching it every minute of it. Maybe because I don't like Dan Mullen, and I've mentioned that before on Twitter. I'm not too harsh on Twitter because, people are watching, and I do want a job in sports someday. So I am very light on Twitter with my thoughts, but I am happy Cal Trask boo-booed the bed. Say that to the least. Justin Fields, I really had him in the top 4 in the preseason, and he didn't. Them not playing a lot of games, and then him kind of having an up and down season. It kind of dropped him out of that. Brees Hall is a Big 12 guy. He led the Big 12 in rushing at Iowa State, and I root for Big 12 guys, of course. I'm pretty sure Garrett was rooting for Brees Hall as well. He was surprising. He was surprising in the top 10. Najee Harris, I thought he would finish a little higher, but you had Trevor Lawrence there, was the golden boy of college football this year. We all know that. Kyle Trask was an interesting top 4 finish from the preseason. I didn't really have Kyle Trask in the top 4 in the preseason. Devante Smith just snuck in there and stole that Heisman, and I was happy for Devante Smith. Knowing his story, knowing his background, I was really, really happy for him. And he's playing in a national championship. So I really, really enjoyed seeing a receiver win it and not a running back or a quarterback win it. This is 2020. This crazy things have happened. Ohio State's offense found his footing. They're giving the ball to Trey Sermon. Shout out to Trey Sermon. Have a special place in my heart for him, University of Oklahoma graduate. So he transferred to Ohio State. So I vowed to watch every Ohio State game because he's a nice guy personally, and he graduated from OU, and I just want to see him do well. I also want to see Justin Fields do well because I think that situation at Georgia just didn't work out for him. I think they did him wrong at UGA, but that's neither here nor there. But I was happy for Devante Smith.
And our newbie, Jesse, you got any thoughts on Devante Smith, going in and winning the Heisman and, like Amber said, ultimately stealing it, at the second half of the season ever since lockdown?
Yeah, I probably won't say too much that anybody else hasn't already said. I think he deserved it. I think it was pretty clear that he was the best player in college football this year. So not a whole lot to add there. I will agree with the committee there.
Yeah. The only thing that was shocking to me is how close it ended up being in terms of between 1 and 2 here between Trevor Lawrence and Devante Smith. If anything, I think Mac Jones deserved to be above Trevor Lawrence, and maybe even Kyle Trask and maybe even Najee Harris could have even been above Trevor Lawrence just based off of missing those 2 games. But I guess it was kind of a pity, which I've been calling it all year, is that Trevor Lawrence is going to get a pity invite to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony just because of his career and what he has done at Clemson. And ultimately, that's what ended up happening. But the fact that he was even that close to Devante Smith, only 700 points away, was kind of, shocking to me when I first saw it. I was like, how did that even happen? And how did he get 222 first place votes even? It was kind of astonishing to me. I don't know if that took anybody else by surprise, but I was kind of shocked by that. But I'm just extremely thrilled for Devante Smith in becoming the first wide receiver since Desmond Howard to go out and win the Heisman Trophy after, like a lot of you guys were saying, has become known as a quarterback's trophy or quarterback's award. So really great for Devante Smith and everything, for his career moving forward, especially now that he's headed to the NFL, probably going to be the number 1 wide receiver taken off the board. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into the big game tomorrow, and it's going to be in Miami there at Hard Rock Stadium. So it should be beautiful weather. I think it's a high of about 75 degrees, which is going to be beautiful at kickoff. You got the number 3 Ohio State Buckeyes, undefeated on the season, only playing 7 games so far against the Alabama Crimson Tide, who are undefeated as well, but with 12 wins on their record. And I think the line right now is at 8.5 points, favored for Alabama here. And we'll just go around and get initial thoughts on the game, matchups that you guys are curious to watch, who you expect to have big days. And we'll, I'm sure at some point during this conversation, it'll lead us into a little bit of props. And, there's a little smack talk to a little bulletin board material that has been going around there. So we'll start with our Alabama fan first and Isabel, and then we'll maybe end with Jesse, or we'll let him go right after. I haven't decided yet, but go ahead and take it away, Isabel.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to get to just like propaganda for Alabama, but didn't mean to make that sound so smooth together. But I think it's going to be a good game for us. I think something that this year was really hard for every football team who played. And so, like, I don't really think it's on Ohio State. They only got to play 7 games. That's just so many hard conditions. They had to start later because they weren't even allowed to play for a few weeks there. Like, that's a lot of stuff that's out of their hands. And I think that only having 7 games doesn't mean that they're not good enough to be there. I'm not going to say, like, Dabo being like, oh, yeah, well, they didn't play enough. And it's like, I wish that it was a team that had played more, but I think you can, if you have a variety of teams you play, I think that can show a lot. What I do think is the difference is, like, Alabama won 12 SEC games, and that's nuts. Or 11, and then, Notre Dame. And that's a big deal. And I feel like it just shows that, like, they were facing a lot. And maybe, again, though, those other teams, I think, were struggling a little bit this year in particular because it was so different. LSU is a very different team than they were last year. So that matchup's not exactly a flex like it would have been last year. I think that makes a big difference. But coming into this game, I think, Najee, Devante, and Mac, they just have a triangle set up that is just so tight, so great. Definitely going to be missing Landon on the line. But I think, other than that, I think everything's going to be pretty tight, pretty normal. And I think what the difference to me is going to be is Ohio State had the history with Clemson the past few years that fueled that whole team versus this specific team doesn't have a huge history with Alabama as much as it does with Clemson. And I think that's going to be a big difference to see, like, will they still have that same fire playing a team that they don't really know each other as well as they did with Clemson. So I think that's going to be the big difference, seeing, like, how much they step up. Is it going to be in the same way, or is it going to be just a normal game? They also play 2 different kinds of football, they're just different attitudes. And so I think that's going to be a big difference. But other than that, I think it's going to be a really good game, and I'm actually super excited.
Yeah, keep talking that smack about how the SEC is so much tougher than the Big Ten, and Ohio State will show up. That will give them the fire.
Well, the SEC is a lot tougher. Let's just be honest. I mean, we're top dogs. I mean, I'm Kentucky talking about this, and I think we'd be topping some other conferences. That's how bad it is. But anyways, I mean, we got Ohio State playing at this game. We're happy that they're there, and I'm lying straight to my big gap. Nobody wanted Ohio State here in this game. Let's just be honest. They only played 7 games. I know Isabel said we don't really care that they didn't play those games because everything is crazy. 100% agree with it. I was even thinking back when Caleb, you saying about Lawrence being up there, even though he missed a couple games. This committee doesn't care if you play 4 games or 20 games. They're going to put the big market teams in there, OSU and Alabama, in the top 4, like we said earlier in our broadcasts. But I think, in a serious note, I think this is going to be a really good game. I actually think it's probably going to be a high-scoring game. I feel like both defense are slacking a little bit compared to most championship teams that we've ever seen go on here. So I think Alabama will come on top on this. I have to say that no matter what I felt, really, for as bad as I hate OSU and I've dog stomped them with anything that I've ever said. So, yeah, I think Alabama's actually going to win. I think they totally covered the spread. I don't think it'll be an 8-point game. I think it'll actually probably be a 2-touchdown game.
Wow, 2 touchdowns? Really?
I do. I mean, you've got 3 of the top 5 of the Heisman trophies right there. I mean, you've got the wide receiver, the running back, and the quarterback. I mean, we even talked about this, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Amber, about how bad the OSU defense was even ranked in the nation. So I want to say they're like 26 or even out of the top 30. I'm not for sure back then. But I just feel like, I mean, I know it's a hot game and everyone's going to be playing because it's the national championship game, but I still think Alabama will be more poised in this game. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. And I know Jesse is already wanting me just to hush so he can throw in here. But I do think that Alabama wins by 2 touchdowns.
I think it's going to be closer than people think. If they can get Trey Sermon going and get that offensive line to block Alabama's defensive line, they can win the time of possession and control the clock. Ohio State has a chance. I don't want Justin Fields dropping back 30, 40 times and throwing the ball. I don't. I really don't. If you can get that running game going, I don't know if Master Teague is playing. Is Master Teague playing, Jesse? Is he playing? Going to be able to play?
The unfortunate thing about Ohio State football is that they do not release the report until the day of the game. So we won't even find out any of these COVID issues, who's on it and who's not, even though I've heard speculation. And I could probably touch on that in a bit until the day of the game. So that's the big problem. Master Teague was not a COVID issue last game. So he did have a concussion in the Big Ten championship game, and that's why he was not able to make it last game. So I would assume just this extra week and a half or so has helped him heal. So my guess is that he'll be active, but the problem is we won't know until tomorrow.
You know what, Ohio State athletics, I really don't like you. But anyway, why you have to
wait like Ohio State for anything?
I mean, I'm going to cheer for Ohio State, and I want Ohio State to win just because I want to see Trey Sermon and Justin Fields win.
Dude.
I know Trey Sermon. I have a special place in my heart for Trey Sermon. I just said it. You know what I mean? I have ties to Ohio State now. It just is what it is. It is what it is. I would love to see. I want to see that battle between Patrick Surtain and Olave. That's going to be interesting to watch. We're going to see Wade and Waddle might play. I don't know if Waddle will play. They're hinting at him might being able to play. I don't see Waddle playing. I don't see it, but they keep talking about it. Like Devante Smith avoided the question completely on media day. So if Waddle plays, I mean, he could be a decoy. He could be anything. So you're going to see Wade and you're going to see Devante Smith matched up. If I am Ohio State, you have to roll that safety for help. You just have to. Now, that's something that other teams haven't been doing against. Ohio State, you have to roll that safety for help. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I think I'm echoing. That's something that other teams haven't been doing, and they've been getting burned. So what will Ohio State's game plan be against Devante Smith? What will their game plan be? Mac Jones struggles against pressure. What will their game plan be against Mac Jones and Najee Harris? How do you stop him? So there's some things that Ohio State can do to win this game. I think if they control the ball, you can get Trey Sermon going in that running game, even Justin Fields on some quarterback runs, designed runs, and not have him drop back 30 or 40 times, because I don't want to see that. And Ohio State fans probably don't want to see that. I'm pretty sure Jesse doesn't want to see that. Quick 3 and outs is not going to do your defense any good against Alabama, because they're just going to wear you out. And by the time a fourth quarter hits, your defense is going to be completely worn out. And you have Najee Harris, who's a bruiser, and he's just going to run and run and run and run. But if Ohio State does not control the clock and does not control the tempo of that game, then it could be a 2-score game. But they have to control the tempo. I'm eager to see what Jesse thinks, but they have to, because Bama's just too lethal scoring the football.
Caleb, we're getting some really
shout
great
out to
comments
Michael
here.
Lawson for complimenting himself.
Oh man, I appreciate that. MD Lawson 00, dude. And I want to make sure that Caleb did see the comment that came in a second ago. Let me go back there. 5 great people.
Yeah,
and Caleb.
I'm a great person. I'm a very genuine person, actually. So I don't know what Anthony's talking about over here. Anthony's the one who's got some serious problems. So you guys should not pay attention to anything that he says. But
if you want to know how awesome Caleb is, go to his TikTok. I mean, it's really good.
If you can find it. If you can find
made
it.
Roughly 20 minutes farther into the stream than I thought we would without talking TikTok.
Yeah, we can leave TikTok alone. I think Alabama's going to run away with this one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Ohio State probably hangs into this one a little bit longer than a lot of people think or imagine. But at the end of the day, I think it's Alabama's just overly a better team. A little bit more experienced throughout the season this year. They brought back a lot of guys from last year. Ohio State, not necessarily as much. Ohio State having to go through the whole ordeal with missing players throughout the season with COVID issues and not being, on the same page as much as Alabama will be. And I think that's going to come in handy for Alabama in the biggest game on the biggest stage yet. So I think it'll be a great game, though. I think it's going to be great, but I think late in the fourth quarter, Alabama's defense especially will make one big play. The one thing I'm interested in to see is what is Devante Smith going to have on Shaun Wade in this game? Because that Ryan Day is going to put Shaun Wade on Devante Smith just because he said it, and he's going to have to either back it up or he's going to be shown that he's a fraud, like everybody expects him to be shown that he's a fraud. So I think ultimately Devante Smith's going to have a 200-yard game with like 2 to 3 touchdowns on Shaun Wade. I think it's going to be, a slaughter for that Ohio State defense that is probably the worst secondary defense that we have seen in a national championship game from the regular season. That is based off of stats. So I'm expecting a real massacre when it comes to the air game for Ohio State and Alabama.
Oh my!
Do you think more than 2 touchdowns or more than 1 touchdown, Caleb?
For Devante Smith, I think he has at least 2.
For the win, how much? Yeah,
I'd say probably anywhere from probably 14 to 17 points will be what it is. But last time I said that, it was with the Bucks last night, and they only won by 8. So who knows?
Because Notre Dame lost the game by 2 touchdowns against Bama, right? 31-17, right? That was the final of that game. Okay.
I think Notre Dame's a better team than Ohio State.
It was more than 2 touchdowns. They just stuck in with the backdoor cover on 19.
Yeah. That's the thing is like the classic like Nick Saban like polite guy like ease up on the second half when you're crushing somebody, like when your foot's on their neck, like with a team like this where it's like we don't want to humiliate them because they made it to the Final Four, but like it's just frustrating when that happens and the other team's like we're just gonna get this in like 2 minutes left, we're gonna get another score in just to make it all look better for them. It's like okay, we crushed you. And
31-14, my bad, 31-14. So 17 points they won by 17. Yeah. So,
but
you think Notre Dame is better than Ohio State, Caleb?
Yeah, I do personally. I think Ohio State had like one good game.
Did you watch the ACC championship game? Caleb, did you watch the ACC championship game?
I did watch the ACC championship game, and I understand that, but that was a Clemson revenge.
Did you watch the Ohio State Clemson game?
Yes, I did. It still does not teeter me from thinking that Ohio State can have one good game like every other team that's overrated can have. I mean, you align the stars at a perfect time, especially with what Dabo was saying and the smack Dabo was talking and placing at Ohio State at 11. Obviously, they're going to come out fired up and want to play the best game that they've ever played, and that's what they did. Now we get to see if that's going to hold up true or not. I mean, you see what happened with, Fields taking that huge shot. Is he going to be 100% in this game? We don't know. Like, how are his ribs going to be feeling after that shot that he took? And then you got to go up against an Alabama defense that albeit they're not the best Alabama defense that we've ever seen, they're still good and they're very experienced. And you think that Nick Saban is not going to have these guys amped up and fired to go up against who a lot of people think is probably either the number 1 or number 2 quarterback, depending on who you talk to in next year's or this upcoming NFL draft. So I think they're just going to be, it's going to be a shock to them because they're not going to, I mean, Ryan Day's never necessarily been in this situation to where he's had to build these guys up to this level before. And you have the added bonus that Nick Saban is working to surpass the best college football coach ever in Bear Bryant in national championship wins. You're telling me Nick Saban's not going to put everything and just push the pedal to the metal and not stop until he has that? You got to be joking me. You got to be kidding me, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And I understand that my Notre Dame comment, whatever, but I mean, that's just ultimately leading me into saying that Ohio State's going to get smacked in this game.
Well, my feeling on what you're saying there is the disadvantage for the teams playing Ohio State, and this is no shot about me saying that they didn't play many games at all this year, but there's not good footage this year against them playing against a really good team. And I think now Alabama has this game film where they did play this last game, and I think it'll help Bama quite a bit that now you've got some footage against a good team in Clemson that they play, and you can actually prepare more for that. So that's why I think a bigger advantage is in this situation for Bama on that. I think OSU was able to be able to a surprise against Clemson. Now, should I say OSU should not have beat Clemson? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes when you have the advantage of not knowing, it can be a very big advantage, I guess. But I am dying to hear what Jesse has to say, because I know he's been taking notes down there and just thinking, okay, Michael said this, Garrett said this. Now I've got my rebuttals coming up here.
I haven't said anything yet.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Garrett's still waiting.
Well, and I think the first quarter is going to tell you what this game's going to be. If they can hang in throughout the first quarter and Fields is on and playing like he did against Clemson, it's going to be a game. But I could also see it where it's 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and you might as well shut the TV off and go to bed because all you're waiting on is the final score. So, in the end, I don't think Ohio State's going to be able to hang with Alabama. Fields has been too inconsistent for me to really put a lot of faith in him this year. I like Alabama by 10. I'm not going to go the 2 touchdowns, but I think Alabama gets out ahead early and kind of softens up the defense a little bit to not give up the big play and not let them get all the way back in it, and just keep on me on that 10 to 14 point range. Come away with the win.
All right, Jesse. Now's your time to shine. Go ahead.
The floor is yours, Jesse.
All right. The first order of business is I feel like there should be a live bet on air with Mr. Caleb Skinner. If you think they're going to get smacked, then you feel confident enough that they're going to win by 2 scores. So I would easily take whatever you want to place on that.
Okay, we can talk figures. We can talk
Let's
figures.
hear it.
Oh, we're talking figures live. Okay, so a 4.
We don't really have to get into that. Let's just say, well, it could be money, but let's just say, what do you want the spread? Just 14?
13.5. Give me the hook. Give me the hook.
Okay.
All right, cool.
I think the loser has to do a TikTok video of this, my butt getting big, and then dropping it on that other part. Please.
Oh, my.
Please.
Oh, my.
I think that was what the loser should do.
I don't think that's appropriate for, the Unwrapped Sports Network TikTok.
I think it's totally appropriate.
Whoa. Hey, Caleb, are you feeling all right? Your face is looking a little yellow.
I think Caleb is scared.
I'm not scared. I'm good. I can drop it. It's fine. But I don't know. We'll talk. I don't know exactly.
All right.
We'll do, but we'll talk.
We'll get something going. I don't want to. I don't want to even acknowledge some of the defamation that has been going on here over the last 5 minutes. I kind of just want to get into what I think is going to actually happen in the game. So
Yes.
So I would be absolutely shocked if the winner of this game doesn't score at least 40 points. I'll just say that. I don't think either of these defenses, including Alabama's, is good. I don't think I think maybe Isabel touched on it. The last game that they had against Notre Dame, I think that was a bit of gamesmanship by Mr. Saban, because I think they just confidently knew that they were the better team. And after halftime, they just decided that they didn't want to, show anything to the next team that they were going to play against. And they kind of just played really vanilla and just got out of there with a win and didn't really care because they knew that they were way better than Notre Dame. Obviously, I don't think they'll be able to do that with Ohio State, and the comment that Notre Dame is better than Ohio State is a bit laughable to me. But that being said, it is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the matchups on the outside are being a little overrated, because I don't think that Wade is going to cover Smith. I know he made a comment earlier in the week that, of course, you know who I want. Like, what is he supposed to say? No, I don't want to cover their best guy. I stink. Like, he's just going to say he's a competitor. He's going to say what he's going to say.
Well, what you could say is that whatever my team needs me to do, I'll do. Like, you don't need to come out there and say, I want to cover the best wide receiver, and knowing that you're not
any competitor is going to do that. Your favorite guy, Mr. Jalen Ramsey, would be doing the same thing. So
okay,
I think
that's a totally different story. Sean Wade is not Jalen Ramsey.
But he's a All-American cornerback that was voted in, and he's gonna be a first-round draft pick. So I think Wade has had a bit of a disappointing season. I'm not going to sit here and be the Sean Wade supporter, because I'm not. I've been trashing him all season. But I think he has the talent to, have a good game and be able to play skilled ball. But I don't think Ohio State's never played Wade on their number one wide receiver the entire year. So I don't think that they're going to start now against the best wide receiver in the country. So, and I don't think that Ryan Day is going to have the ego that he's just going to stick it to Saban and show him that Shaun Wade's better than Smith. No, I think he's going to do whatever he is going to do because I think he's a top 2 or 3 coach in the country. I think he's going to put his team in the best position to win. And I think maybe it was, I forget who said it, but somebody said something about putting somebody over the top.
Me.
Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
So I would do the same thing. I don't know why you wouldn't double him every single play, even. They're just let somebody else beat you. And if Ohio State's pass rush can be what they've been, then you can get away with doubling guys like that because he's not going to have much time to throw it anyways. So that's personally what I would do. I don't know what they'll do, but I think, obviously if that matchup gets presented, I think, it favors Smith. I don't think Shaun Wade can cover him one-on-one, especially maybe a few plays here and there, but I just don't see it happening. But, for the most part, I see the biggest part of this game, I think, is going to be the line of scrimmage. I think Ohio State has dominated the line of scrimmage when they played their best ball this year, and especially the last couple of games when Trey Sermon's really got going. The reason that they were able to do that is because, their offensive line is elite. They're dominant. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan. I think they have the best offensive line in college football. I know Alabama offensive line is really good as well. They won. I think they might have even won the award for best offensive line on the year. But Ohio State has just unlimited depth. They were down to their 3rd string left guard last game, and it was a true freshman, Paris Johnson, and he pancaked the guy on the first run, and that was when Trey Sermon broke his run to the left side. So I just think the depth is there. I think that they can control the line of scrimmage. I think the weakness of Alabama's defense is that front 7. I think that they're going to pick their shots, but Alabama plays so much man coverage. I don't think it's going to be anything like the Clemson game plan. They knew that they could win one-on-one against Clemson and beat them deep against their secondary. I don't think that they're going to have that confidence against the Bama secondary. I think you're going to see a lot of crossing routes and stuff with Garrett Wilson over the middle. He plays slot a lot, which I think will be beneficial to them. I think you're going to see a lot more 12 personnel, meaning 2 tight ends on the field. Ohio State's gone to that look quite a bit of late. Over the last 3 to 5 games, they've actually increased their 12 personnel by quite a bit. And I think that helps in the run game. And I also think it helps with these athletic tight ends that they have. And I think they have mismatches there. And I think you saw that in the Clemson game. And I think you're probably going to see that again, then be heavily used in the passing game against Bama. So that being said, it's kind of a long-winded breakdown of what I think is going to happen. I don't really feel confident to make a prediction one way or the other, but I think this is definitely going to be a really close game. I for some reason, I don't know why, I feel more confident than I probably should in Ohio State, but I've just seen too many times, almost every time they're projected to be underdogs going into the game, they end up having a miraculous put together the performance of a lifetime and kind of just make it happen. So this is definitely going to be a high scoring game. I don't know if I'm taking the over or not, but what is it, in the 70s, mid 70s?
Yeah, it's sitting at 75.
75 is the over under right now.
So the one other thing I want to mention though is I've been hearing the rumors on the COVID issue, which kind of concerns me, is that they might be without a few defensive linemen, particularly Togiai up the middle, a defensive tackle, which is a huge loss against, to be able to stop the run game, and Najee Harris. But also Tyreek Smith, which is kind of came on at the end of last game against Lawrence, created some havoc there. So missing those defensive linemen could be quite the struggle, given the fact that you're going to need to get pressure on Mac Jones and not just let him sit back there and pick the defense apart. So if I'm Bama, I'm getting Najee Harris out in space against the linebackers in the passing game. He's going to eat them alive if they do that. I'm putting Smith on Wade one-on-one and hoping that they don't double him. And kind of just whatever team's going to be able to prevent the other team from scoring touchdowns, really. Like whatever team, Ohio State and Bama can give up, 600 yards of total offense. And it's going to be whatever team is able to play good red zone defense and hold the other team to a few field goals here and there or create some key turnovers, obviously. But that's going to be, I think I really like the fact that everybody's hating on Ohio State and nobody gives them a shot, because it just normally means, fade the public. That's almost always a popular, profitable strategy. So I'm hoping that that's the case this time. But, it's going to be a really, really good game. And just hope that we're, on the good side of things and not on the side of things that I was at in the Clemson side of things, which will make me not want to watch football for like another year.
Yeah, I mean, it could be one in the trenches. I'm looking forward to a lot of these players that are, you have Chris Olave, you have Sean Wade, Ohio State, obviously Justin Fields, on Alabama, Devante Smith, Mac Jones, Najee Harris, just players all over the field, Patrick Surtain on the defensive side of the ball there too.
Do we think he's going to follow Olave, by the way, or do we think that Surtain's going to play one side? I know I asked Trill the same thing last time, but
right.
Has anybody read anything this week or Saban's probably not going to tell us anything, so we probably weren't going to be able to read anything anyway.
I'm assuming he's going to have Olave probably doubled for most of the game with a safety over the top with probably Surtain on him, unless he wants to just put Surtain on him, because Olave is the most dangerous weapon that Ohio State has over Sermon, Master Teague, whoever you want to say. In my opinion, Chris Olave is the most dangerous weapon they have, just because he's just such an intangible guy. Whether he's fast, he's got great route running abilities, great hands, great on the deep ball as well. So you got to put your best guy.
These are the best two. So I can confidently say. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, Caleb, but I can confidently say that these are the best two wide receiver cores in the country, like by far. I don't think people know about Garrett Wilson enough. This kid's going to be a first-round draft pick. This kid is elite. He is elite. And if it weren't for Alabama having Smith and or Waddle, whichever one you want to call the number two, I'd say they have the best number two wide receiver in the country. But obviously Alabama
I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying, when you just look at how Ohio State's played all year, Chris Olave has just torn people apart all season long, no matter who he's been matched up against. So, it's going to be fun. I think you have to put Patrick Surtain on him.
And if you do that, and if they put a safety over the top, you can.
Garrett Wilson's going to eat, dude.
Yeah, and you can use Trey Sermon in the passing game too.
That's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah. So they did that at OU. They used Trey Sermon a lot in the passing game with him and Kennedy Brooks running backfield. So if Ryan Day continues to use Trey Sermon properly, I think Ohio State can exploit Bama. Because you're going to take away two defenders. If you put Surtain in a safety, that takes away two defenders right there. And then you just use Trey Sermon properly. I say properly. It comes down to play calling and things like that. But that could happen. And you get those tight ends working the middle. That could happen. We'll just have to see. But I would love to see Patrick Surtain and Chris Olave go one-on-one. I would love to see that.
I would almost take out a second mortgage to bet that the winning score is going to be in the 40s. Neither of these defenses are going to be able to stop the offense unless they get lucky with lucky turnovers or crazy red zone defense where they just flop inside the red zone and it's a bunch of field goals. These guys are going to put up points. Both sides are just going to go off. And honestly, Isabel, and I'm saying this for myself as well, I'm almost not looking forward to this game because game is going to be, I'm telling you, this is going to be a stressful game as a fan. It is not going to be that fun until the game's over.
Yeah, well, I'll say this is my last thing. I think I have to dip after this, but I my 21st birthday was the game we lost against Clemson. That natty was my 21st birthday. And that was the most stressful thing I've ever been a part of, is in a bar on the Strip in Tuscaloosa on my 21st with all my friends, stone cold. Everyone like almost in tears. We went back. My roommates played Sarah McLaughlin, and we all sat by candlelight in the living room. It was stressful and depressing. And so after that, I'm like, bring it. I was at the LSU game last year after being up since 2 a.m. at college game day, freezing cold, pouring rain. I'm up for anything this game has for me, just because I've been through it in the past 4 years. It's like a lot of good victories, a lot of good seasons. Those L's were stressful, and I think this game will be stressful. I think it'll be tough. I think you're right. I think it will be kind of tight. I definitely don't know about the two touchdown thing. Like, that'd be great. I have that confidence in my team, but I feel like Ohio State, like I said, if they can find that anger in them to like step up like they did against Clemson, could be dangerous. So yeah, that'll have to be my last take, as much as I'd like to keep flexing how good Alabama is, and not leave Jesse unchecked in this chat. I'll just have to hand it to Michael and hope he can step up for me.
I'll do my
honorary knighted Alabama. But yeah, guys, it's been so good talking to you. And Jesse, yeah, feel free to DM me all day tomorrow. I'm ready. I'll be at work, but after 5, hit me up.
I don't know if I want to talk to anybody. I'm going to be like crawling in a hole for the next 24 hours.
What do you expect to lose? Let's just be honest.
Like SOS.
Like, Jesse, you have to. That right there tells me you admit that you think you're probably going to lose this game, right?
I felt you would not have any idea how I felt in the first quarter of the Clemson game, and it turned out just fine. So I was literally like, I having like heart palpitations. I'm like gripping the side of my chair. The Clemson goes down and scores on like 6 or 7 plays right off the bat. Yeah, trust me, I have these feelings quite a bit. So it doesn't have anything to do with the confidence in the team. It has everything to do with just the fact that I'm a nervous wreck. So
I want to ask this then. We know the offense on both teams are going to be phenomenal. We know what we're going to get from our stars. So what do we think is actually going to be the deciding factor, the X factor? Do we think it's going to be the running game? Do we think it's going to be OSU's defensive line maybe steps up and stops the running game from Alabama, or vice versa on that? Or do we think whoever wins the running yard stat is going to be the one who comes out on top with the championship here? What is your all's, like, the one thing that you think is going to be the deciding factor?
Yeah, well, before we answer that, I just want to give Isabel a chance to give her prediction, since she's got to get off. So go ahead and, let us know your prediction for the game before, you go eat dinner or whatever you have to.
I mean, yeah, Alabama by 1 million, every time.
And we're talking about my 2 touchdowns.
I think the difference is going to be trusting the process and just praying to Saban, I read my Bear Bryant book again this morning. My brother got me a prayer book with Alabama prayers in it as lessons.
Oh, wow.
And, gonna do that tomorrow. Just get queued up. I feel good. I think Alabama's got it. I feel like at least 1 touchdown, maybe 2. Maybe that does happen, but I think Ohio State's going to fight that we weren't prepared for. I think we were prepared for Clemson. I don't think we were prepared for Ohio State. And so I think this is going to show, like, in a week and a half, what can Nick Saban get done? Is Ohio State just not the team that they showed up against Clemson at? Sorry, Jesse, but yeah, guys, it's so good talking to you. I'm sorry I have to bounce. I'm about 30 minutes late to dinner, but it was so good talking to y'all. And yeah, let's talk after the game, guys.
Yeah, thank you for hanging in there with us.
You probably won't join us. Let's just be honest.
I'm just here to I've got my shaker behind me. Hang on, let me see if I can flex this before I jump off. Just getting it going, guys.
There we go.
Roll Tide tomorrow.
Gotta love it. Thanks, Isabel.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Isabel. Appreciate it.
See you guys. Bye, Himber.
Thanks.
All right, Caleb,
Yeah.
The new spread is 2 million. So under 2 million. I'm going under 2 million.
I'll go under 2
Oh,
million
wow.
too. But yeah, I guess we could hop back into what Michael had just asked everybody, and I'll start. I think it's going to be who wins the passing game, honestly, which wide receiver core can expose the other team's defensive backfield. And that's going to be a big weapon in this game, whether it's going to be Chris Olave and everybody else there at Ohio State, because I don't know everybody there, but I know Ohio State always has great wide receivers like Jesse was talking about. That's always just a thing with them. That's how they make their quarterbacks look good, is because their wide receivers are just that good. So it's going to be either them or it's going to be, Devante Smith show, and we'll see if Jalen Waddle plays. I don't expect him to, but whichever team can use their wide receivers to the best that they can and get their wide receivers in the best position, it's going to be the team that wins.
I'll say what I think Ohio State. Yeah, I was going to say I think the battle of the line of scrimmage is like absolutely vital in this game. I think the only way Ohio State's going to win this game is if they can control the line of scrimmage, get that run game going with Trey Sermon, and then work that play action pass down the field, get some guys open. Because if you're just playing pass game versus pass game and hoping that you're going to outproduce an Alabama-led pass game that was basically like broke every single record and every single efficiency mark, like everything. There was nothing that went wrong for them in the entire season. I also don't think, the SEC is a great conference and they played a lot of great competition, but I also don't think the SEC has like that many good defenses either. So I don't think that they've seen a defensive line like Ohio State's. But Ohio State obviously hasn't seen a secondary probably like Alabama's either. So I don't think it's really going to come down to the passing game tit for tat, because if it does, then it's pretty much a clear Alabama victory, in my opinion. As confident as I am in the Ohio State passing game, I'm a little less confident in their secondary. And I think Ryan Day knows it, dude. He's an offensive genius. I don't think he gets enough credit. And I think if he wins this game, he's going to step in that stratosphere of like everybody's going to actually know how good Ryan Day is. And he is going to do whatever he thinks is the weakness for Alabama. He's not just going to say, okay, it worked against Clemson, let's do it again. Like, it's not going to happen that way. He's going to figure out a way to make it work. And I just think that the Ohio State offensive line is too elite not to take advantage of that against their front seven. So that's the key to victory for Ohio State, in my opinion. Obviously, Alabama's is if they can create all these, 30-plus point or 30-plus yard gains constantly in the pass game, it's going to be hard for Ohio State to keep up, because it's going to basically just be like them falling behind. And it's one thing to let a team kind of methodically beat you, but it's another thing to just keep giving up big plays, and those are like big momentum boosters, and I just don't think Ohio State would be able to recover from that. So
I'm going to key on. So you said there that with the SEC, Alabama hasn't really been in trouble. Everything's gone according to plan, and Alabama, we haven't seen Alabama have to really play in a fight or play from behind. I think this is going to key on Justin Fields. Everybody's talking offensive line, receivers, all that, and none of that matters if your quarterback can't get the ball to the receiver. It doesn't matter how open your receiver is if your quarterback misses him. It doesn't matter how good your run game is if your quarterback's throwing interceptions. Because you look at what Fields did they played 3 teams above 500 this year. Against 2 of them, he combined in the 2 games for 414 yards, 5 interceptions, and 2 TDs. And then in the Clemson game, he had 385 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So which version of Justin Fields are we going to get? Because, Alabama's defense, I think their secondary is more vulnerable than their front 7 myself. But are you going to get the Justin Fields that threw 3 picks against the Northwestern defense and 2 against Indiana's? Or are you going to get Justin Fields that throws 6 touchdowns against the Clemson defense? I think that Justin Fields' stat line is what determines this game.
I can agree with that. I just don't want to see Justin Fields dropping back 40 times throwing the ball. Like, I don't want to see that, because that takes away from what Ohio State has been doing well for the past couple of weeks, and that's running the ball, controlling the tempo. And that's what won them the Northwestern game, in my opinion. That's what won them the Northwestern game. It helps when you run it back and run for 300 plus, but they slowed the game down. Let the game come to Justin Fields. Don't put him in a situation where he's going to have to drop back too much. And I think if he does that, Nick Saban's going to lick his chops. He's going to lick his chops. Now, if Alabama plays man, they have to keep Justin Fields in the pocket because he can't run. That's the danger of playing a man defense. Everybody's man to man. So that quarterback can do whatever he wants to do outside of the pocket. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough game for me to call because I don't know which Justin Fields I'm gonna get either. But as long as they don't drop him back 40 times, I say even 30 times, 25 times, I'm okay with that. But quick 3 and outs is not going to win you this football game because Alabama can score quickly. And is Ohio State built to come back from big leads? I mean, from big spreads? I can't talk tonight for some reason. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe Jesse can answer that better than I can because he's closer to Ohio State than I am. Can they come back from a 20-point lead? I mean, a 20-point deficit or a 14-point deficit? See, he shook his head. No,
not against this team. I think they could in a usual team. What I think is a little overrated is, Justin Fields' performances in some of these higher competition games that they played. Northwestern plays a style of defense that gave them fits. They didn't have Olave in that game. Like, there were a lot of things going against him. And in that Indiana game, they were firing on all cylinders. They were up by 3 scores. And then he just started making a bunch of stupid mistakes. So I just think Alabama's front 7 is not as scary as it's been in the past. They cannot create like a consistent pass rush like they have in past seasons. Their strength is in that secondary. So it's going to be, and I agree with what you said, Amber, I think the other thing that's going to be key, obviously, is his health. If he's able to actually get out and run and be able to extend drives on 3rd and 7, be able to scramble and if they're playing man coverage, which they do like 90% of the time, he's going to have those open lanes, and it's just a matter of whether or not he's actually feels healthy enough to run. So I think that's something that we'll probably find out pretty early in this game, whether or not he's healthy enough to run and how he's feeling, because he doesn't really hide his emotions too well. I mean, if he's hurting, you can pretty much tell. So
I was actually going to ask that next is, do we think Fields may rush for an X amount of yards? Do you think he may be going over 40? Do you think that takes a play in this? If he can play like the Vince Young of my era of for a championship game, drop back and let the man-to-man coverage like you even were talking about, and then run for those 15 yards to get those first downs. Do you think that may take an effect in this game? Do you think he may rush for 40 yards or more or less? Because I think that is a big factor in this game too. Just looking back at some of the stats against Northwestern, he did Fields rush for 35 yards, and I think against Clemson he had over 40. I'm going to act like I don't know when I'm looking at it. 42 yards in that game. So do you think it's somewhere in that same area, or do you think Alabama contains him, which maybe shortens the playbook some?
Do you think that'll lead in? Are we getting into spreads and props and stuff, Caleb? Do you want to just get into that?
Yeah, we can go ahead and jump into the betting corner, which is kind of what I just kind of named it here. If you guys want to go ahead and jump in that, I'll go ahead and try and pull up the screen share and have some props and stuff going from my bookie.
Yeah, what I don't have is like receptions. I'm actually looking at my bookie as well. Promo code USN 100, right? Yep, got it. So what I can't see are reception totals for some of these other lower end guys, like the tight ends and Trey Sermon. Like, I want to take the Trey Sermon reception was like at 2 last game, wasn't it, Garrett? And he like smashed that, and he smashed the yardage receiving prop.
He ran all over that.
Yeah. So I like him in this game as well, because as Amber mentioned earlier, he's a very capable pass catcher out of the backfield. And I think that they could stand to benefit against these linebackers with Sermon and coverage, especially if they're playing man coverage and they're doing like these crossing routes where they're kind of, meshing these guys. A running back can get out so easily and be able to create a mismatch against the linebacker. So I like Sermon on that front, but my bookie doesn't have those like actual reception totals. They might have yardage, but maybe not receptions.
They have, I guess, for receiving yards, they have Sermon, but for receptions, they do not on my bookie.
Okay. 30.5. That's close. That's pretty close. I don't know how confident I feel. I almost feel like I'd be more confident in just a reception total. What I do like is Garrett Wilson over 74.5 yards. I've mentioned him several times here, but I think just if you're going to trust Ryan Day to create the mismatches that need to happen, I think Garrett Wilson is definitely that. If you're just going to assume that Surtain's going to cover Olave quite a bit, I like Garrett Wilson underneath in the slot. I also like Najee Harris over 37.5 receiving yards, and Mac Jones completions at 27. The reason I like the over in that is because, okay, they blow him out. That means they're, passing it all over the yard, and he probably hits that. And if they don't, and Ohio State gives them a fight early on and they have to throw it more, like, he might hit it again. So I kind of like Mac Jones, just whatever, style of game or whatever the game script happens to be. I think we can probably hit that.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think I probably like Justin Fields over 22.5 a little bit more, just because I feel like Ohio State might be having to play from behind a little bit here. So you got to take a look at that. I mean, that's 4 completions less than a Mac Jones. And if you think Alabama gets above or gets out ahead early or something of that nature, they're going to start running the ball a bit more than throwing it. So I think I would lean towards that Justin Fields over 22.5 over the Mac Jones pass completions.
What's the rushing yardage
for running backs?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you guys know I don't know much about betting and all this stuff, so I'm actually enjoying I've got this on my full screen now and actually watching this, not even paying attention to anything else. But looking back at this, against Northwestern, Fields only completed 12 passes. So we really think
different game, man. Just a different opponent. Yeah.
Well, what I'm going with is even against Clemson, he did I want to say he completed 22. So, I mean, even in a more heavier passing game there,
but they also but you have to they also were blowing Clemson out, so they're not gonna keep throwing the ball,
Right.
So that also slows down. You want to slow the pace of the game down at that point, get the clock moving, and you start running the ball.
And I mean, we're assuming they're playing from behind too here. So I mean, obviously, if they got a shot to win it, 2 minutes left, they're going to be doing a lot of the out passes, get out of bounds. I mean, is that where we're thinking at on that? I mean, like I said, betting, I don't know. I'm just trying to do a strategic. If I'm trying to win the game, what am I expecting on this here? And trying to collaborate with those in my thoughts here. That sounded like I was almost smart.
I mean, I like it a lot. I think Trey Sermon probably has another big game too. I don't know. I feel like
finally over 100, man. They have been slighting him. It's been easy money going over rushing for Trey Sermon the last couple games, and now it's finally getting to a point where it's like a little questionable. But I still think, like I said, if Ohio State is going to win this game and have any hope or success, it's going to be over 102. Like if you're picking Ohio State to compete in this game, even it's going to be over 102. Like it's just going to be that.
Yeah,
he's had like 600 yards the last 2 games.
I feel like you could place $10 on every single offensive over bet on the offensive side of the ball, and you will probably still come out ahead, like just unit wise. I mean, honestly, I feel like you would have great luck doing that. But I mean, just because it's going to be an offensive, the over under's at 75. Like let's look at see what it's at on my bookie right now.
I want to know what the tight end
75
receiving props are, man. Alabama's tight end is really good, and he could be a factor in this as well. And Ohio State has athletic tight ends too. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that those tight ends are going to get involved in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can find that if you're on a different book or something of that nature.
Yeah,
depending
I really
on
do like a tight end.
Okay, Michael.
Thank you. Somebody. I mean,
too much.
Garrett, we're just kind of like.
Too much TikTok for you, Michael. Oh my goodness.
Literally, I'm a 34-year-old, and I was walking at work away from some of my coworkers talking to them, and I started doing a little bunny hop away from them, and they went, "Wow, you got too much TikTok time." I said, "You're right."
Corvette, Michael. Corvette.
I know this is a college stream, but what the hell is going on in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I've got it. I've been watching it over here as much as possible, and I just keep seeing a new score every single time I turn around, so I've kind of stopped watching it.
Ben threw another pick. That's what just happened.
Did he really?
He just threw another pick.
Good. Yeah. That can't be good.
Deshaun Watson will be a Steeler next year.
But is there anything that you're necessarily looking at? I know, Garrett, you're a gambling man yourself. Is there anything that you're kind of zoning in on when it comes to player props or anything that you like to play for this game tomorrow?
I like Smith over receiving. I don't care what his yardage is. And
what is it? I didn't even see. It's at
that's my big one.
135.
Yeah, he'll tear that up. With maybe if Waddle comes in, maybe not, but I still think even if Waddle plays by some way, shape, or form, because he doesn't catch down. It's ridiculous. I don't know what his yards per catch is, but it's got to be high because he catches the ball 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, it gets 20 yards to play. So I like him going over. I'm a little scared of the Sermon. Sermon's good, but Alabama playing against
going back to Devante
arguably
Smith
the top 3 teams they've played this.
He averages 15.6 yards.
Devante Smith at over. Yeah, and I guarantee half of that is yard after catch. But Sermon makes me a little nervous because Alabama hasn't given up 100 yards to a rusher in any of their games this year that they played against. Well, in the top 3 teams they played this year, A&M, Notre Dame, and Florida, they did not give up 100 yards rushing. So that, I don't know, because if Alabama, I think that's a little more of a risky bet. Not that Sermon can't do it, but if Alabama goes up 2 scores early, I don't know how much rushing you're going to get out of Sermon.
Right, and that's the concern there with Trey Sermon.
But on the other hand,
at the same time, I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say on the other hand, that guy's good to bust a 50-yarder, so I don't feel near as confident on that one. I think it's going to depend a lot more on how the game goes. But I think Smith gets his yardage regardless, and I like the over.
Yeah, I think Smith will probably get his. Yeah, you like the over 75? Good Lord, I don't think I've ever touched an over that's been that high before, unless it was like a Maction game.
I cashed the over in Florida, Oklahoma twice. Once at 72.5 and once at 64.5. So I'm feeling it.
That's absolutely insane. Yeah, I'd probably do that. Ohio State's plus. Go ahead.
I just want to say, just to give some more context, we all rant and rave about how good Olave is, and I feel like this is like bound to flop now that I've brought this name up like so many times. But Garrett Wilson leads the team in receiving yards. Like, he has more than Olave. If they put Surtain on Olave, Garrett Wilson is going to eat.
And what was he at receiving yards?
74.5.
74.5.
But even if they don't, Garrett Wilson plays in the slot. That. So is Surtain going to follow a guy in the slot, or is he going to play outside? He plays outside.
Yep.
I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, that's Surtain on the right side. I think they put Surtain on the right side and just give him help on, and give whoever help on Olave, which will lead to Wilson hitting 74.5 yards.
I mean, that seems like the most safe bet on the table right now in terms of who to play. I mean, Devante Smith's probably going to get his, but do you see him coming right underneath that maybe? Like just doing enough, and maybe it's a Najee Harris game, and just all of a sudden Najee Harris just explodes onto the scene again and just has one of those types of games for him. I don't know. See, there's so many question marks when it comes to Bama because you've got, Devontae Smith, you've got Najee Harris, you've got Waddle possibly coming back, even though I don't think he is. So it's a lot of mouths to feed, if you will. So, but like, if we're expecting Alabama to get up early in, Trey Sermon, Alabama hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher, and Notre Dame probably had the best running back out of those 3 teams that you had already mentioned, Garrett, in terms of them not allowing a 100-yard back. So, Florida's running back room isn't all that great either, and then they didn't allow a 100-yard rusher. So I like that play a lot too, with maybe under on Sermon, just based off of the fact that Ohio State might be having to come back and throw the ball, which is kind of what both of these bets are going towards. So,
yeah, well, and I think the question is, do you think Devontae Smith will get 5 catches in this game?
Oh yeah.
Then he's going to hit his over. If he
right, because he's a barn burner. He has probably 2 big catches a game that go for over 35 yards. So that's big playability for Devante Smith. So, I mean, that's very likely. 8.5 is a lot of receptions for Devante Smith. So maybe that under would be something to look at for receptions for him wise, especially if they get up early. They're not going to be throwing the ball as much. But do you have any thoughts on that, Jesse or Amber or Michael? Or?
Yes.
Devante Smith?
I think that's more of a live bet situation. Yeah, Devante Smith at 8.5, I think is more of a live bet. I'd have to see how the game was going, because if they keep it tight and Alabama has to throw all night, he's going to blow that out of the water.
Okay. Again, hi, my name is Michael Lawson. I've never made a bet in my life. I'm assuming this live betting that you're referring to is while the game is going on, you can say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take this, and the numbers kind of change as they go.
Correct.
Like they'll make their own adaptation, I guess, or adaptations, whatever.
Yep.
And then they'll fix the numbers. Okay, I'm going to take it right now. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still think
so. If Alabama
probably
goes up
average.
21-0 if Alabama goes up 21-0 and Devontae Adams is at 4 catches, I think it's fairly safe to say that he's not going to.
God
hit
help us if
8,
Devontae
they're
Adams
up
is
3
playing
scores.
Oh,
sorry, Devontae Smith. My bad.
Get your Devontae's confused.
It's been a long couple. It's been a long 2 for. It's okay.
It's okay. It's all right.
Hey, it happens.
We
It
got
happens.
another big one tomorrow. So
he's pretty much
I'll probably
Devontae
mess
Adams.
the name up again.
So I have a question, guys, for you betting guys. What's the safest bet on those lines? What's the safest bet?
Alabama by 50.
Oh,
You said the experts,
She
right?
said
Expert.
gambling, guys.
Safest.
I think Devontae Smith yards.
If I were to say the safest bet, I would probably have to roll with, I don't know, maybe if the Alabama score dropped a 1.5, which is not going to happen before tomorrow, I would take it at -7. Maybe if you want to buy your spread here down to -7 for Bama, so that way if they win by just a touchdown, you push at worst. And if you think Alabama's going to win, other than that, take a shot in the dark. I mean, look at that value with Ohio State getting +250 on that money line right there. Not the safest bet, but I mean, throw $20 on there, you're going to get double your deposit back in half. So that's not bad at all if Ohio State wins. So it's nice and easy there. But if I was going to say safest, I like Jesse's original pick on the props right there, and that's going to be with Wilson going over 74.5. Just imagining Ohio State having to come back from behind. It's either got to be that or the Trey Sermon under 100 yards, 101.5 yards, whatever it's at. Just in my opinion, I think those 2 plays, especially when it comes to props, are your safest bets.
okay.
My plays, what I'm going to put money on as far as the game result, I'm going to take Alabama at 8.5. Because I really think Alabama wins this game by 10 or more unless Fields is really hot. I'm also going to put money on the Ohio State money line because it's at +220 or 250 or whatever it's up to. And if Fields comes out hot, they can win that game. I would say the safest of those 2 would probably be the Alabama bet, but I'm going to I'm going to shade some money at Ohio State too. As far as props go, if you gave me $20, put a gun to my head and said I had to pick one, I would put 10 on Smith and 10 on Garrett Wilson to go over.
Okay.
And for you, Jesse?
I think those are the 2 most solid.
Yeah, I think Garrett Wilson probably is my favorite as well. I would like to see if a book has like an anytime tight end prop, because I do think either Alabama's tight end or one of these 2 tight ends for Ohio State are going to score in this game. That's my prediction. One thing I wanted to highlight, and I don't want to keep us obviously too long here, so it'll be really quick. So, man, Fields, for all the flaws that he has been freaking money when it counts. Against Clemson, obviously last week, we just saw he went 22 of 28, 385 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a pick, right? Well, Justin Fields in that game against Clemson in 2019 also was money. And I don't even think his stats do it justice as far as what he actually accomplished and like just some of the ball placement. He had some wide open guys like drop passes and stuff. I'm trying to pull up the 2019 game, of course, and of course it's not allowing me to do that. So why would I brag on Justin Fields if I can't pull up the stats?
Just like an Ohio State fan.
Typical.
Yeah, I'll get to it. Go ahead.
While Jesse looks this up, hey guys, for our viewers out there, did you know that we also have a YouTube channel? You need to go follow our YouTube channel. Everything that we do on our Twitter accounts, our live streams, even like this, obviously after an hour they go dark and they're gone. But all of our videos, we all have connections down to YouTube, so everything is being funneled to YouTube and also Twitch as well. Please go and follow those. Do you all know exactly what those names are? Is it just Unwrapped Sports Network on YouTube, I think? Oh,
yep,
yes.
Unwrapped.
And
Right
as you can see, we have
Sports.
only 40 subscribers right now. We are wanting to push that up to at least 100 by the end of the month. So help us out with that. And then also on Twitch as well. Connie right now I think he was playing a game. I think he's playing Warzone right now. So also go follow us on Twitch as well. I want to say it is USN Gamers maybe, and then USN Sports as well on there too. So Jesse, hopefully I bought you enough time with my.
You did.
Good,
So
good.
The touchdown ratio obviously doesn't look that great, but he threw for 320, 30 for 46, like 65% completion percentage. I mean, yeah. So he's been good in really good games, and he's actually thrown for more yardage than people predicted. So again, I've said it a million times. This game, whoever the hell can stop the other team from scoring touchdowns is going to be the winner.
Which is the case for most games. If you stop the other team from scoring, you're going to win.
I said scoring touchdowns, okay?
I know.
Touchdowns.
All right.
Touchdowns.
With that being said, geez, Garrett, would interrupt me. I'm kidding. With that being said, we'll jump into predictions before we get into one last thing, which is something that Garrett brought up that I thought was interesting as well, because it's got to do big with what's going to happen here in the offseason of college football. But before we get into that, I want to go around and get everybody's predictions on the game. If you want to give a number, give a number. If not, don't. And we'll start with Amber over to my right.
Oh, goodness.
Put you on the spot.
Oh, yeah, you are. I'm going to go with the upset. I'll go Ohio State by 1 score.
All right.
And this
I'm not going to give tape. I'm not going to give a score prediction, but I'll just say
no. You have
I'm not. It's superstitious. I didn't do it against Clemson. I'm not doing it again.
Wow.
Okay, I'll just
write
say
it down.
I'll say I feel way more confident than the public is giving Ohio State credit for, and I think that they are way more capable of controlling the game from the line of scrimmage than what people are making it out to be. Not taking anything away from Alabama, because they are a really, really good team, a really well coached team. But, I've seen it 2 times in my lifetime when everybody counts Ohio State out. It just so happens to work out. So I'm hoping that this is the case this time again. So it'll be a good game.
Can't believe you're not even going to give it. We at least write it down so if you do win, you'd be like, hey, this is what I predicted. But I actually think you think Ohio State's going to lose, and that's why you don't want to say it, because you feel bad. But I'm going to go ahead and say that Bama wins 42-28, 2-touchdown win. Even though I see that, I do feel like OSU could probably easily get in the 30s, but I'm going to say 42-28.
51-42 Alabama.
Oof.
They could kick a field goal late in the fourth quarter to make it a 2-possession game.
Yeah, I almost wanted to go first one to 50 as well. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think I'm going to sit in the neck of the woods right around where Michael is. I think I'm going to go probably 45-28. I like that score. I think that's pretty solid there. I think, Ohio State puts up points early, starts matching Alabama, stride for stride there early. And then, like I said before, Alabama just kind of pulls away there at the end, maybe a defensive touchdown there late. just because Ohio State's starting to get a little antsy and, pressure starting to be on their back to have to score. And I think, that's where we see Justin Fields kind of slip up, much like we saw Trevor Lawrence do against Ohio State in the past game. So we'll see what happens with that. Did I miss anybody? Nope. Everybody got their prediction in. So we'll tape this and hopefully.
I'm going to say this too real quick. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it's actually going to be a close game at halftime. I think it's going to be like 21-17 halftime, and then it's just going to be all Alabama in the second half. Sorry, Jesse.
I think
I'll just make the announcement up front. If this doesn't go well, you guys can kiss me goodbye from the chat for about 2 or 3 days because I take this stuff way too serious and I care way too much, and it just freaking upsets me too much. So, but
if you want to redirect, just talk about Airman Caleb and his TikTok, and you'll be good.
Plug my TikTok and you'll be all set. But that'll be it for
it's a little hairy.
God, did not have to do that. With that being said, we'll jump into the coaching carousel, which is something that Garrett's been paying much attention to recently. And I guess the biggest news so far has been Harbaugh being re-signed there in Michigan on a 5-year extension, making half the pay. But other than that, was there anybody in particular you wanted to talk about, Garrett? I mean, we got a new, Brian Harson's leaving Boise State to go be the head coach at Auburn, which was a huge move. Andy Avalos taking over for Boise as Boise State's head coach. So Oregon's former defensive coordinator, Lovie Smith getting the boot at Illinois. Brett Bielema taking over there. That's pretty cool. Terry Bowden coming in, being the new head coach at University of Louisiana Monroe, getting his name back into the coaching carousel as well. So that's pretty cool since he was a GA at Clemson. Any other big names? I know Will Muschamp's out at South Carolina. Derek Mason out at Vandy in Texas, replacing Tom Herman with Steve Sarkisian. But anybody in particular you were looking to talk about, Garrett? And are there anybody, or is there anyone that kind of sticks out to you as maybe this isn't a great hire or a bad mistake in keeping somebody, or did one team make a great hire in your opinion?
I want to know what drugs the Michigan football boosters are on and where you can buy them. Because why are you extending Jim Harbaugh? Does anybody have a good reason?
We talked about this on our show. Remember, we were talking about it on the show. Like, what in the – do they have dirt? Does Harbaugh have dirt on Michigan? Like, what's going on in Ann Arbor? I just – it blows my mind. It really does. Like, are there no other good candidates out there? The recruits want to just play for Harbaugh. Like, what? I don't have any words. I'm lost.
So this is actually. I was just gonna say, sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off, but I have to go here soon. So I think this is actually a great time for me to sign off. Trashing Michigan one more time. So he actually has to. He only had 1 year on his deal left, and now they added 4 more years on, and he's making half of the money that he did before, and they're making him hire like 90% new staff, like tearing it down. So I'm almost wondering if Michigan has something on Harbaugh to make him stay, and it doesn't make sense why they would make him stay, but it's almost like they want him. There's something there the opposite way, to where like he was doing everything he could to get himself out of there, and then they just lured him back with half the money, and he has to completely rebuild everything. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes absolutely zero sense.
Don't sign the damn contract. I mean, that's...
I guess he does want to be there, or like Jesse's saying, there's something, like everybody's saying, there's something fishy going on in Michigan. I mean, you can look at what Ward Manuel, their athletic director, said in their news release. It doesn't make you feel any better that there's not something fishy going on. We believe Jim is the right man to lead our program in pursuit of Big Ten and college football championships. Our program didn't achieve at the level that anyone expected this year, but I know the setbacks will drive the coaches, players, and staff moving forward. Jim is a tireless worker and competitor. Following the completion of the season, we talked for many hours on what it will take for Jim to lead and get us back on the right trajectory. Over the past few weeks, Ward and I had discussions that have been – this is what Harbaugh said. Over the past few weeks, Ward and I have had discussions that have been honest, open, insightful, and constructive in moving our football program forward. Discussions that I look forward to continuing over the months and years ahead. We have a plan. There is work to be done and challenges to be addressed. These challenges are being addressed as we continue to strive for excellence in the classroom and championships on the field, a message that I hope is noted in the language of our agreed-upon contract. So can anybody take anything from that? Other than they're lying out of their ass saying that they think Harbaugh is the right guy to get them right on the right trajectory towards Big Ten titles and college football championships.
Jesse, you're gonna have to close your ears here because I'm about to say something nice about Ohio State. But Jim Harbaugh is 3-3 versus Michigan State and 0-5 versus Ohio State. Now, I am not an Ohio State fan, but for whatever reason, in the town in Michigan, beating Ohio State is the golden standard, and he is 0-5. And then he's 3-3 against a Michigan State program that is supposed to be their little brother. Why is this guy back?
Like, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have enough maybe they just didn't have enough candidates, and they're kind of just accepting the fate that they're not going to beat Ohio State anytime soon, and they don't want to pay a coach a ton of money to lose over the next couple of years because they wouldn't have their own recruiting staff and everything else for quite a few years now. I have no idea, honestly. I have no clue. I have no idea. Ohio State, all I can say is I feel blessed as hell because I feel so fortunate to have Urban Meyer move on, and then we got just Ryan Day fell into the lap because I'm not Not only that, but you have 5 more W's in your pocket now, at disposal. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I don't know. Last thing is Ryan Day is the freaking truth, and hopefully after tomorrow, everybody will respect him a lot more. He just smoked Dabo. We should have beat Clemson last year, and so I think he's the real deal. So I don't know about Michigan, but we'll see what happens.
Why don't you just say the truth that you are blessed that Urban Meyer was man enough to fall on his sword so Ohio State didn't catch a 5-year bowl ban?
I mean, he did fall on his sword. It happened. Just like Tressel fell on his sword when it wasn't his fault either. I mean, it's just a matter of
I'm not saying it wasn't his fault. I'm just saying he was man enough to step up and take the fall for the whole program so they didn't catch a bowl ban.
Yeah.
That's Urban Meyer's medical condition is recruiting and staffing violations.
But what's the most interesting, coach move here for you guys? Michael,
I got to get out of here, guys.
Yeah. All right. See you, Jesse. Thank you.
See you guys.
I will say what I've been most interested in this offseason is just Tennessee. Actually, being from Kentucky, my boss is from Tennessee, and we talk SEC quite a bit. There is a lot of stuff that's been going on in that organization that's just been quite interesting and fun to listen to. And right before their bowl game, I think actually the last game of the season, something came out that there might be some kind of violations going on with recruiting, and just didn't know what to happen with there. Sorry, I hear a child whining, and I heard my wife holler too. So I may have to go myself here soon. But just the situation that's going on there, it sounds like the coach is kind of being forced out, but they've paused it. And I know even already Hugh Freeze from Liberty has been mentioned as a very candidate that is interested. He actually verbally has said that he is interested in the job now. So, I mean, if that's already being said, it's almost sounding like Tennessee is about to make a move here probably in the next couple of weeks and see if they can get Freeze to come over. So I think it's very interested. I still hear my child crying, so I think this is my time that I need to hop on off of here.
Okay.
All right.
Can I get you for 30 seconds yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, just real quick. Tennessee's investigation to recruiting violations was started internally. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's so they can fire Pruitt without paying him?
Probably.
That's what I'm hearing from that end is
basically known to be, a little under the table when it comes to things.
Yeah, what I've been hearing is
Everybody's under the table.
yeah.
Right.
Well, like what I heard about the violations, it's what every person really does. And actually, there's rumor that after the NCAA gets involved with this violation, that they will end up going to Georgia as well with some violations going on there. Apparently, there's a offensive tackle. Well, I won't get into too many more details now. I'll just leave it at that. Apparently, there was a bidding war between a player that is between those two teams, and I'll leave it at that. That it'll be probably come to a head very soon. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out there if it actually does.
All the teams do it. It's just who gets caught, who doesn't.
Except for Kentucky,
Right.
especially not in
Right.
basketball. So.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean every
We'll let you out of here on that one,
Michael, thank you. Every team's got a bag, man. We know that. I think the most interesting move up to this point has got to be, Auburn firing Gus Malzahn and replacing him with the guy out of Boise State who has absolutely zero ties to the SEC or recruiting that area. So we'll see how that works for him moving forward. I think he's a good coach. I think he can get the job done, but it's just going to be an uphill climb for Auburn. And I hope Auburn fans are ready for, kind of a rebuild mode, kind of like what we saw from Florida for 8 years, what we saw for Florida State for the past 4 years, that type of rebuild when you're going to be hiring somebody who has no ties to the SEC. So I think that was an interesting move on their part. But moving forward, I think it's going to be.
I was not. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, just looking in the future, the Tennessee thing will be interesting to watch. I think what's going on at Florida with Dan Mullen is going to be interesting to watch because apparently their front office is upset that Dan has expressed his interest with the NFL with what's going on there and isn't, being honest and upfront with their front staff when it comes to the athletic department. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there as well. But other than that, there's not really much I'm looking forward to. Maybe what goes on with, what's going to happen with Gus Malzahn. He's a great head coach, but is he going to get picked up somewhere else? What happens if, Jamie Pruitt does get fired? I've also heard rumors about, I don't know who it is at Georgia, who they were thinking about bringing in. Maybe they were thinking about bringing in who's a really good defensive minded that was a head coach, but is just being just got let go. But that Georgia was thinking about bringing in a high profile Will Muschamp. They were thinking about bringing in Will Muschamp as DC and then getting rid of Dan Lanning, which in my opinion, I would much rather have Dan Lanning as my defensive coordinator than Will Muschamp. But that's kind of one of the rumors out there on the mill too. So there's going to be, I think, a lot more shuffling around than we're used to or we're expected to see from, or what a lot of people expected to see from the onset of this, COVID-filled season. A lot of people thought, coaches were going to have their jobs kind of secured because of the amount of money when it came to buyouts and things of that nature. But I think, honestly, we've seen the complete opposite happen.
Yeah, and Grant Calcaterra. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Garrett.
Sorry. But, no, I was not surprised to see Gus Malzahn fired. I was kind of surprised by his replacement because, like you said, it's going to be a real uphill battle as far as recruiting goes. I also thought the Illinois hire was interesting. I think they moved on a little quick from Lovie Smith, and I don't really know what they think they're getting with Belima that they didn't have with Lovie Smith. I don't really see that. I see that as more of a sidestep as opposed to an upgrade. Mm-hmm. So that one I think is going to be interesting to watch. The Tennessee situation, I'm kind of very interested to watch because I know there was an offensive lineman that ended up signing with Georgia that's one of the players being investigated. And then another guy that played for Tennessee is being investigated whether or not there were recruiting violations. And like I was getting at when I asked Michael, the investigation was launched internally, and they owe Pruitt like $12 million that they fire him without cause. So I just really think this is a power move from within Tennessee to try to get Pruitt out of there without paying him. Mm-hmm. And then they'll hire Hugh Freeze, who is another coach that has made questionable decisions in the past.
I was saying something along the lines of Auburn. Grant Calcaterra, he played great tight end for University of Oklahoma. He retired, and he came back. He committed to Auburn, but then now he decommitted because of the coaching change. So there's one piece of the puzzle to the recruiting that you guys were just talking about.
Yeah, and Amber, I got a question for you. Are you worried at all as an Oklahoma Sooner fan and graduate that Steve Sarkisian might actually be the right choice for a head coach at Texas? Do you think that he is a better replacement than Tom Herman?
I'm going to go no.
I guess I got my.
I'm guessing no.
Texas is back in basketball. They just beat West Virginia the other day. They're ranked in the top 5 in basketball, number 4 in the country right now. Football, I'm not worried about that. Sam Ehlinger is moving on. Who's their quarterback for next year?
I can't even tell you who their quarterback is for next year.
Exactly. I can't either. And that's bad. That's very, very bad. We have Caleb Williams, number 1 quarterback in 2021, coming in next year. And then we got Spencer Rattler in year 2. I mean, I'm not worried about Texas. I'm not worried about Steve Sarkisian. Caleb,
I just had to ask. I had to ask. I know.
Are you worried about Campbell and Brock Purdy coming back?
No.
Okay.
I'm not really concerned when it comes to the University of Oklahoma. I don't have too many concerns because they have one game where they let me down every year. So I'm used to that. I'm used to that. I didn't expect 2 losses this year, but I did get 1. But I did get a Cotton Bowl win. So I'm happy about that. And a Big 12 championship win. I'm happy about that. But I'm happy Purdy is coming back. I'm happy he's coming back. Is Brees gone?
I haven't heard anything official on Brees.
He should go. He should go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a running back, man. If you can get paid, you gotta go get paid.
Yeah.
Got to take that money while it's there. That's for sure.
Ramondre Stevenson is gone. So, and Ronnie Perkins is gone. And both Treys are gone. Trey Brown and Trey Norwood are both gone. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting.
It is. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coaching things to unravel as, the offseason unfolds and we start looking forward to next year. But I want to thank you guys for coming on here again and, lasting it out with me for this last hour and a half. It was a pleasure having you on. I plugged all my stuff in the beginning. I don't necessarily want to go through it all again. Follow me at CHS Null. You'll see all my retweets. Follow at Unwrapped Sports. Great stuff over there. Content daily. All kinds of stuff we're going to be bringing to you. Follow us on Twitch, like Michael was saying earlier, YouTube as well. We're trying to build those platforms. Like us on Facebook at Unwrapped Sports Network. We're just building and getting on so many different, platforms right now that it's kind of crazy. We got Periscope, a bunch of stuff happening with them come March. And so we're trying to just get out there to as many people as possible. If you guys could just throw us likes or, follow us on whatever one of those platforms that you can, that would be amazing. Anything else you guys want to throw on or plug right before we get off?
Follow me on TikTok, Sportscaster, and Twitter, all the same handle, Garrett from Iowa, and you'll see all my stuff. And yeah, like Caleb said, hop on the Unwrapped Sports train. We're going places.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at simplyme_AV. I have a lot of things to plug in, so I won't be plugging in all those things. Just get on Twitter, and you'll see all my things in my bio.
Right. And again, guys, it's another episode of Unwrap This. It's been a while since we did one of these panels, but I think we're going to be starting those back up daily. So keep your ears and eyes open for those. And as always, guys, have a great night. And, tomorrow starts a new week. So start it off right.